3 military generals, a lady, a one-time presidential candidate, a pastor, and a 24-year-old fresh graduate are among the 10 candidates seeking to end Yoweri Museveni Haburu's attempt to extend his rule to 40 years. But as campaigns commence next week, the road seems to be already bumpy, going by the altercations between candidates and security agencies. So what awaits the candidates during the 2 months they will be canvassing for votes? Tonight we host Patrick Oboya Muriat, Justin Kasule Lumumba, the NRM Secretary General, and Matthias Mpuga, NUP Vice President, Central Region. Gentlemen and lady, we are honored that you were able to also honor our invitation to be here on this show tonight. You're most welcome. A warm welcome to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me begin with you, Engineer Patrick Amriat, because you have been in the news in the last couple of days. In fact, when you entered here, my eyes were just looking at you from down. You know why? Because I'm looking for the shoes, but you have them. You know, what happened to you on your nomination day was regrettable, was something that really put us in bad light in as far as our journey for democratization is concerned in Uganda. But also, I have to put it on you. On the eve of your nomination, Engineer Amriat, you were so defiant, and you said you are going to lead your group to walk from Najanankumbi to Chambogo. Defiance was what you were preaching on the eve of nomination. Were you expecting the men in uniform to stand by and watch as you flout the regulations of COVID-19?
First of all, a good evening to you viewers. And Patrick, thank you very much for the words of empathy to me for what happened to me on what was meant to be the greatest day of my political life. The fact that I came fully dressed with my shoes does not mean that I take seriously what happened. I do not take seriously what happened on that day. Indeed, I have made a declaration in my own heart that I will now be pursuing the presidency barefoot. So my campaign will be a campaign of moving without shoes, because this is what the dictator wanted me to appear, and it's also helped me to appreciate the suffering of the people in the villages, and I do think that I really want to look like one of them if I must lead them, you know, from the situation in which they are today to the next level. Now, going back to what happened on that day, there was a build-up against me. And, you know, in my village where I live, in Nigeria, Busbante soon, I began to notice strange movements around my residence 3 days prior to the nomination. And I decided that I would not be taken by the police forcefully to the nomination center in Chambogo. So I decided to leave my area and move to the next village, where I spent 2 days. Remember, this is my country. I'm a citizen of this country, a senior citizen at that, a political leader for many years, head of a political party, one of the biggest political parties in this country, former member of parliament for 3 successive terms, a person with a political career that has spanned 28 years now. That is not a mean achievement. And now somebody gunning for the top seat on the land, being treated that way. I think really I owe an explanation from the regime, But also would like to say that I'm not surprised about the treatment, because this is what we have been going
Yeah, but
through all these
Patrick,
years.
what you're not explaining to the viewers
I am coming to
is
that.
that on the eve of your nomination,
I am coming. In fact,
you are
it wasn't
gun blazing that you are going to cause havoc.
In fact, it wasn't even the eve. I began to speak about these weeks before the nomination. And I said to the public that Ugandans would like to greet their leader. The FDC is a force to reckon with, by the way. And just within Kampala, and we're very clear, we have capacity in a very short time to mobilize many in their thousands. And so, Patrick, what would have been wrong for these people to lie in the streets and greet me? Was the government in place or the police transporting them to where they wanted to go? Is this a free country? We know that there are inalienable rights enshrined within the constitution of this
We are a free country of laws and regulations amidst the pandemic.
Yes,
and the Ministry of Health has given
you know,
SOPs.
how would the
and
police,
they're asking you to follow them.
How would the police make anybody believe or even predict that would not be exercising the SOPs, would not be respecting the SOPs? What was there evidence that people would not come putting on masks? Was there any evidence to show that people would not have sanitized? Why don't you wait and see the tendency of the people before intervening? So I think that this was preconceived.
Okay.
It was preconceived, and it makes us even begin to believe
Let me put it
that
the Secretary
COVID
General.
is being used as a political tool against the opposition in this
Let me
country.
put it the Secretary General of the NRM party, Justin Kasule Lumumba. You saw what happened. You probably have read about what happened if you didn't see it. But really, from your point of view, when you see somebody who is running for the highest office in the land being treated the way he was by men in uniform, the man who can potentially be their commander-in-chief tomorrow, as Secretary General, do you condemn what they did?
One, Honorable Amriat, he himself has admitted that he started weeks before warning the state that he's still on his ideology of defiance, as they have in NRM. I mean, in FDC, NRM. So any party I talk about in my mind in terms of first NRM. And he has said it is. He has said he started talking about it weeks before. While you are talking of the eve, he said weeks before. Now, when he's given a plan, his route by the police, and he's told you leave Nigeria, Chiwatule flyover, then Chiwatule Naria Junction, then you go to Chigobe Road and Chambogo Engineering, then Chambogo, the sports field. And he decides to wake up very early and go to Najana Nkumbi against the route he had been given. And he has been talking of defiance, not in even in hiding. It was so evident. Police comes up and tells him, even in the route, the letter that the IGP wrote to him was telling him that you will be led by police in those motorcycles, giving him and according him the status he deserves as a presidential candidate, who had fulfilled all the requirements based on what the Electoral Commission had put out based on the law. And now, when he promises defiance, they take him, the car to him. His personal car had been stopped in Katwe. And then I saw on one of the platforms his car's been stopped in Katwe. I wondered why. Then only to see it had been taken to him in Najana Nkumbi. And he decides not. I want to say, one, police did right to take him to to the venue of the nomination early in time, because they had given him a route, and the police, using taxpayers' money, had decided to even lead him for nomination. The excesses that could have happened during that process, I condemn them. But he himself, as a candidate, a presidential candidate, somebody who our children are supposed to look at and admire, ought to have followed the route, because that's the only way the state would have taken care of those who are involved in political activities and those who are not involved in political activities. So when you see what happened, surely, out of the 11 candidates, of course with the exception of the one of NRM, because as Commander-in-Chief, police is not supposed to give him the route. That I want to be so clear. But the 10, out of the 10, only 2 decided not to follow the route that had been given to them by police. I'm not the spokesperson of police, but I'm talking as a responsible person in this country and as somebody who knew what was going on, because the letters, I also saw copies of those letters. Honorable Amriat, you and me should be responsible and disciplined leaders in this country. The police you are doing carrying you to the vehicle. These are our brothers and sisters, your sons and daughters, doing work on behalf of us, me and you,
the excessive
state.
use of,
so the excessive use
of their power on a presidential candidate, potentially the next commander-in-chief.
Did he behave as a presidential candidate? When they were pushing him, when they told him enter, why didn't he enter? He didn't. They told him enter. He didn't. He had already warned Defiance. What did you expect? Do you expect the state to just look on? What they would have done, they would have handled them with little power than the excessive power they used. But also on his side, he ought to have cooperated with the state.
You know, it's not, on that day, it's not just Honorable Patrick Oboy Amuriat who suffered the wrath of the Uganda police. The head of National Unity Platform, the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, suffered even another, a worse situation. He's supposed, just like your candidate, to maybe launch his manifesto, and then he's manhandled. Probably, the Honorable Matthias Mpuga, you can tell us, and Ugandans, because I remember seeing you on some of these images that were coming from where you are, what your situation was like, and even what happened to you and your candidate is a pointer to where we are headed in the next 2 months.
Patrick and viewers, these are the kind of scenes that our children look at and imagine whether we actually pertaining to the future or riding backwards into our past abyss. And I want to draw parallels between what Honorable Patrick could have experienced in alleged defiance and what candidate Chagulanyi experienced in compliance. We were led from Honorable Chagulanyi's residence in Magere. I was there in the morning by the police. We followed them. They had over, I think, 20 patrols. We followed them we had 3 official vehicles with the stickers. They led us and we followed. Strangely, the patrol vehicles ahead of us were tear-gassing us following them, and even those behind us were tear-gassing us, following their route. We never at any one time diverted from the route they set. So we were tear-gassed from home to Kyambogo. I do not know whether the Honorable Lumumba would love to draw parallels as to what could have occasioned tear-gassing a candidate following police patrol, ahead of him and behind him, because I was in the same route from home, in the 3 official vehicles with the stickers. I mean, it's something that is unimaginable, and for anybody using any means to try and justify whatever the situation, the inhuman and degrading treatment of Ugandans, forget about the fact that they were candidates.
heading for nomination. It's not something anybody can justify. We can only say it's a pointer that we have not learned a thing from our past transgressions and where they have led us. And somehow, just like you've said, it points to troubles ahead. After our troubled arrival, we set foot into the premises of the Electoral Commission, went over nomination normally, and our candidate was abducted at the gate. I do not know.
At the gate of what?
Of the Electoral Commission premises at Kyambogo, at the gate. In fact, as his motorcade drove out, we were met by tire cutters at the gate and was stopped, using all manner of weaponry. The windscreens were broken. He was plucked out like a chicken, bundled in another vehicle, driven at neck break speed. I mean, you really wonder whether actually what point they wanted to make in doing that. There wasn't any single act of defiance by the Honorable Kyagulanyi. In fact, we had wanted to put to taste what these people were saying and as well they could live us to their word. We told them that from here, we are going to our headquarters to launch our manifesto. This was never to be. So up to now, we've never been given an explanation as to what real occasioned that insanity. What actually was most disturbing was that part of the team that vandalized his personal vehicle were policemen on his guard team. So which is why yesterday we resolved to dismiss them. When we reached home, they didn't stop there. We actually found the home literally like a military garrison. We had the police, we had the army, SFC in particular, we had military police. So we're wondering what was going on. So all they could say, enter, stop there. So this is the kind of insanity which we are going into. And
Okay.
As a people and as a political party, we are watching. And I can tell you, we shall play our role as citizens and as political leaders. We're not going to be observers while this is going on. And it can only lead us. It can only lead us to make a huge invitation to the country to see through whether, as a people, we can accept this going forward and allow the NRM. A day before I was in town, I saw NRM supporters in town marching, unencumbered, undisturbed, singing on top of their voices. In fact, a huge group of them marched by me at the parliamentary gate towards the Nakasero. Nothing. No masks, no nothing, shouting on the top of their voices.
Okay, I think if you could hold there. Secretary Kasule Lumumba, how do you respond to that? The selective application of the enforcement of COVID-19 rules, when it comes to them, it is brutal. When it comes to the NRM, it is like how he has explained it. It doesn't make sense.
Before I come to that, when Honorable Kyagulanyi was coming for nomination, I saw police leading him, and they followed the route they had planned to follow up to Kyambogo. It is when they were leaving that I don't know what happened, and I just saw them hitting the screen of his car, which is very unfortunate, and I condemn that, because they would have used better ways of removing him from the car if he had gone against what they had agreed.
Why would they remove him from his car? Why would they remove him?
Than doing it the way they did it. So the question is, why the two candidates? Why only the two of all of the 10 candidates? I have removed President Museveni because he's a commander-in-chief. Why only? It is because Honorable Kyagulanyi and his team must have agreed that let's follow the route as agreed, but on their way back, could be you decided not to follow that. the route where the
No,
police had given
Patrick,
you.
we are
Maybe
very
that's
serious
where
people.
the challenge.
Let me interrupt the
So
honourable member.
I would think that you would have insisted on police to explain why, so that they also respond why. And for me, I also commend you. You really took it and went up to make sure the nomination is done, then you bring. But all of this happening, Mr. Kamara, I want people to know that at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of government to protect the ordinary person who has a shop along the road. You may not have had bad intentions, but you may find there were elements maybe who are planning to go and disturb the peace of the ordinary person along the road. Like I used to see, sometimes some of the political actors in this country would go to Chiseka because people are many, so that they get their supporters in big numbers to follow them with, I think, good political intentions, not knowing that some of the people who come and follow them, either they are good supporters or not, they go grabbing things from the people who are walking along the road, people who are in their shops, people who are what, without the political person, the actor, knowing exactly what is happening. So it's the responsibility.
The person who was in the convoy of the 3 vehicles, it's the responsibility is giving a narration of what actually happened to them, and probably won't accept that.
And Kamara, give me time. Yes. You've asked, he has asked. I'm now facing 2 moderators. So when it happens to them, by the way, since police took even the initiative to write to you and give you a route, you also ought to write to them and ask them why they did that. Because this is a program organized by government. It is entrenched in the Constitution. They should explain to you. So when we come here and have the political discussion, yes, but most importantly, it is the responsibility of the state to protect the ordinary person. If your actions are seen as actions that are going to affect the vulnerable person, the ordinary person, especially in terms of business, that it is the responsibility of the state to protect that person. Sometimes we politicians come up with actions that affect the business of the ordinary person, yet we want the ordinary person to go and do business, to go and work and be able to pay taxes, which taxes are used to pay us politicians. But when you are looking, when politicians are talking, we look at it on our side as political actors up here or whatever level, forgetting that it is those very ordinary people whose businesses, whose activities we should protect, we should not disturb, so that they are able to pay taxes, and the taxes are used to pay to you, Matthias Impuga, Honorable, as a member of parliament. And I want to inform Ugandans, members of parliament are paid before anybody is paid in this country, taxpayers' money. But they don't want to protect the other side where the taxpayers' money comes from.
All right.
Wait, Honorable Amriat and me come from political parties that are paid, that are given money from the taxpayers' money under the Political Parties and Organization Act. So it's the responsibility of government to make sure the person who pays taxes, the ordinary Ugandan, is protected, life and property, but also be in a position to be able to collect taxes, to pierce the politicians who are seated here.
Okay, maybe simply, why would the NRM supporters be able to march on the streets of Kampala in big numbers in defiance of the COVID-19 regulations, and police only protects them? If just a few of them attempt to do that, the disbursement would be brutal.
When Honorable Kyagulanyi was going for nomination, I saw supporters on the sides of the road. When Honorable Tumukunde was going for nomination, I saw their supporters on the sides of the road. When President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni was going for nomination, I saw their people. And by the way, for me, I saw their people with masks. Equally, mine had masks. But I was in a bus, maybe, you may say maybe where I pulled out my head to look out, those had masks. But all in all, nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the law, and the law should not apply selectively. First of all, even COVID itself does not select who who it goes to or not, provided you are in an environment where it is. And we have lost many people, professionals, illiterate, in Kampala, outside Kampala. I was recently in an area where people were going to meet His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and they subjected them to a test. They tested 19 people. It is only 6 who are negative. So whether you are in yellow or in blue, in green, any of us can get COVID. We should all be extra careful.
I just want to leave that
and
point,
I want also to call on the members, especially members of the state, when it comes to enforcement on issues to do with COVID, issues to do with our lives, protecting Ugandans and their properties, don't be selective.
All right. Honorable Patrick Amriat, when you appeared at the nomination venue the way you appeared, without shoes, you had been manhandled, I wonder whether the chairperson of the Electoral Commission probably took concern about your situation, whether he has been able to question why they brought you like that, or even, you know, to say you can maybe go back and get your shoes, write to you, or, you know, do something to show that as because at that moment when you become a candidate, you are more or less you are under him.
I think that no, the straight answer about this is there was no recognition of that fact, what I was going through, how I looked like. In fact, the master of ceremony never even mentioned a word about my situation. I think for fear of his job. He's the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission. And I just, you know, went through this process. Onlookers saw what happened. The cameras, you know, were able to pick it up. There's a picture that is trending on social media now. Instead, I actually walked up to him and said to him, I asked him how he felt looking at me the way I was, you know, with all my cufflinks off and, you know, my double cuff sleeves just hanging, my shirt, white shirt, you know, I put on my best shirt, you know, that morning, completely dirty, you know, my trousers dirty, bruises on my hands and legs and on the back, and then, you know, walking barefoot.
And the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, you know, just watches?
No recognition. So I walked up to him and said, how do you feel looking at me? I expect a statement to be made by the Electoral Commission about this. I'm still waiting for that statement. But you see, Kamara, we are not looking for sympathy from the regime. We know these are actions of the regime, the dictatorship that we have suffered under for many years. They are trying to send a message on this election. They are setting the tone for this election. And the message that is clearly written on the wall is, power and FDC, you joke with us, we will crush you.
Now wait a moment. If
Shabulanyi and Nope, you play around with us, we'll crush you. There is going to be no defiance in this election. And this is a message they are sending to the man down on the ground, that villager who is going to come and vote for his presidential or her presidential candidate.
Let me ask,
and what is clearly, you know, being stated by these actions is, if we can do that on the leader you expect to vote, demean him, he doesn't have any control over the forces, then we will just hit you hard using a hammer. So I think that this is fear factor, because Museveni has traded on mainly 3 things.
Just hold on there, Engineer Patrick, just hold on there. If you are of like minds and you are the forces of change, for heaven's sake, why is Matthias Mpuga and Patrick Amriat in this election competing against each other?
Well, I think we stand.
It doesn't even make sense that you can actually expect to cause change, yet you would be having a cohesion facing the NRM, you know, juggernaut, but you are there divided, and obviously you're going to be crushed.
I think let me just say something about, what happened that day. A demonstration of the fact that the NRM is prepared to do anything, including shedding the bloods of Ugandans, in order for Museveni to stay in power. They will continue to trade violence. They will continue to trade lies. They will always want to divide and rule this country. Now, about possible union between the other forces of change, not necessarily only, NUP, the other political players in the political equation in this election. We have got people who do not have parties, independents, who all oppose what the NRM is doing, and that's the reason they are standing. They are standing not to support NRM, but to see that, the NRM government is brought down and replaced by a government that people deserve. There are political parties who together with us, would like to see change happening in this country. Now, viewers need to note that the FDC, in its history, has tried to cause some kind of union between forces opposed to Mr. Museveni and the NRM. And you remember the IPC, you will remember most recently in 2005, what happened in Bugolobi.
Okay.
The TDA.
Yes, which fell apart.
Yes, let me just finish this. Now, for us mainly, we consider as FDC three things when considering any possible alliance. One, what does the other party bring on the table? Two, what is the interest of a political party that seeks to coalesce with us? Three, how can we trust that political group? So those three questions so far have not been.
So in other words,
answered.
what you are saying, Engineer Patrick, is that NUP,
DP
DP and others are not bringing anything considerable on the table,
no, I mean,
and you don't trust them.
If the
you don't trust them.
If the discussions have to take place, those are the three parameters we are going to consider.
But as of now,
No discussions.
as of now, you're looking for trust. As of now, you're looking for political capital that they can bring on the table, but you don't see it.
No discussions have yet been initiated. At least as far as I am concerned, this has not happened.
Okay.
Now,
yes. Matthias, let me go to Matthias, because Matthias has crossed from Uganda's oldest party.
Patrick, let me just conclude on this. There is a very important factor. What people believe to achieve out of this election is a question that needs to be asked. For us in the FDC, and I speak for them, we think that election by itself and in itself cannot bring the desired change to this country. And so we think that we should approach this election from two fronts. Some of our friends have been on record saying, the FDC has failed several times, they can never win in an election, get out of the stage, let us come in, you are spoiling our opportunities. But I think that looking at what is happening today, maybe the thinking will change now. The belief will be that we are going into an election that is already a sham, an election that is not going to bring the desired results on behalf of the people of Uganda.
Okay.
An election that
yes,
can be won.
You made your point,
an election that can be won, but the power will not be handed to the victor.
You've made your point, sir. Let me go to Honorable Mpuga. Honorable Mpuga, when the people of Uganda look at you, all those who call themselves forces of change, and there you are competing amongst yourselves, yet you know that the NRM party is big. By the way, at the start of this election, they're going to have 8 members of parliament unopposed. That's already a head start. They're going to have almost every constituency fronting somebody to stand in every constituency, and you don't. Don't you really understand that you needed to unite as forces of change so that you can really give a formidable challenge against the NRM?
I think, Patrick, you're handling the sword from the wrong side, and you're not holding the handle.
You should be cutting us, no?
Yeah, sure. I'm afraid you're handling the wrong side. there's no doubt as to what the challenge before us is like. And I'm not worried about the unity of forces of change. Where leaders fail to see the desire and urgency for unity, the people we lead will unite and cause the change. Where political leaders are wiseacring and still up on their high horses, the people will unite us. And that does not worry me a moment, because I know for a fact that this country is ripe for change. And all that is needed is a decisive moment for the people of Uganda to state that, and the day will come.
The people need leadership.
Let me
You are
tell
supposed
you.
to offer leadership.
Let me tell you, Patrick.
But you are not offering leadership
Let me tell you,
that can
Patrick.
show
The people
desire
are,
for
the
change.
people are able to distinguish leadership and pretense, and they will project where they see leadership. I can tell you, they'll project where they see leadership, and they will run away from where they see pretense. I do not doubt the capacity of Ugandans to make that choice.
Does it
come.
really concern you that you're going to be in the field canvassing for support, but you find Engineer Patrick Amuriot, you find Honorable Norbert Mao, you find General Muntu, and all of you at one point you'll be fighting amongst yourselves?
Is it your view that because that's a reality, therefore we do nothing? We are alive to that fact, which is why we are working so hard to make sure that all the space is occupied. In the previous election, the NRM had more unopposed members of parliament. This time around, they actually are buying opposition out. You understand the money politics of the NRM.
You can only be bought because you put a price on yourself. Why are you buyable?
Certainly.
Why are you buyable?
I'm telling you, where you impoverish people and you monetize politics, you're certainly going to find some weak souls. It's not my business to put my soul...
Can somebody buy you in Masaka?
Can I tell you, it's not my business to put my personal soul in another person's soul. My duty is to identify, orient, and deploy. If people are vulnerable, I have seen leaders supported by people to come on the high table, and they have crossed because they have seen a better buttered side of the bread. So the business of Ugandans is throw away such pretenders.
You
so
are a
therefore,
new entrant of NUP, and you
Yes.
are talking about people who have crossed because of better side of the bread that is buttered. So you have crossed NUP because you are convinced about their superior ideological standpoint, or let's face it, you want to use NUP as your special purpose vehicle to return to parliament?
well, if I wanted an easy way to parliament, I would have joined Justin, because that's where freebies are. You cannot join NUP to seek an easy route. Secondly, I have discussed matters relating to my departure with the DP. I don't want to make this platform to again go over that.
You know why I talked about that, Matthias? Because you
Please
say that
just
some
say it.
people are crossing because they have seen where the bread is buttered.
Can
So
I
and I'm
tell-
asking your own crossing
Can I
because
tell
you have brought the issue into the discussion.
If somebody crossed from to NUP to FDC, I would understand their reasoning. Crossing from any group to NRM is lunch business. There's no free lunch in FDC. It's a fight. The NRM is about eating. That's why they are quick on telling opposition politicians that, look, why are you there where you are starving? Come here where they see that the dining table is big. That's not what we are doing. So do not take me into discussing the troubles of DP. When you invite DP leaders, ask them why their members are leaving. So it's not my business to explain their troubles. I am projecting where NUP is going. I'm inviting the citizens of Uganda to be a part of this big change. It will happen. Let me tell you, just like in a particular side, this will happen.
Okay,
We
gentlemen.
know for a fact
Okay.
that the NRM wants to intimidate Ugandans into making this election brutal. They want to make it really impossible for a people's choice to be made. The people will make their choice one way or another. It will
Matthias,
happen.
Patrick, and Justin, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests this evening are Honorable Matthias Mpuga, who is the NUP Vice President Central Region, Honorable Patrick Amriato Boy, presidential candidate of FDC, and Honorable Justin Kasulu Lumumba, Secretary General of the NRM party. Justin, in the NRM, you actually look at the entire Bulemezi, more or less like your political maker. And I remember every time the president would be launching his campaign, he would go back to his political maker. But really, 34 years later, after that struggle, Luwero and Bulemezi in general is still wallowing in poverty. Just like any other place in Uganda. Why would the people of Bulemezi vote NRM again?
Before I go to that, I want to respond to what my colleagues have said here, especially on issues to do with politics in this country. They've really brought it out so clearly, both of them, and I want to thank them for being so open and sincere, that they've not agreed amongst themselves as people as our competitors, as people in the opposition, or with what we call sister parties. Reason being that they've observed that none of them has something to bring on table. They don't trust each other. And if you don't trust each other, you the few, we have 11 candidates. When we remove the independents, we are left with how many parties? If you the few cannot agree amongst yourselves, what makes you think that Ugandans will agree with you? And you take the biggest number of Ugandans agreeing with what you are saying. Then when you say the people will decide, that means you are ready to be led by the people, not you to offer leadership, not you to lead the people. I've thanked you, but they sound very unfortunate. If you are the people who want to take leadership, the topmost political office in the country, and you can't even trust each other, you can't even sit and discuss amongst yourselves. Politics is about talking, discussing. You don't have to get 100%.
But who is the NRM in alliance with? Let me just interject here.
You must
I want
go
to ask the
and
Secretary General of NRM, with whom they are in alliance in forming this NRM of yours.
The Minister of Kampala.
Well, the last time I checked.
The Minister of Kampala
have they
is
formed
from
any
a
alliance?
political party.
You
are aware of that. And I would think the presidential candidate, when you were talking, I paid attention and kept quiet. I would think you should reciprocate. I would think you should reciprocate. I don't think I came here for camaraderie. I came for a discussion on behalf of NRM party. And I ought also to respect, and I do that. So, you would have to, I'm quoting this from what you yourself said, and that is why I say that we as leaders must be accountable even for what we say. You said the Defiance, you started 2 weeks before, and warned the state of what you are going to do. The state came up and said, to avoid you affecting the ordinary person, you said you are not happy. You got there without shoes, and you are waiting for the Electoral Commission to make a statement. Now, you say you are going to continue with Defiance up to the end. But for me, what I would really think, and then you are saying elections cannot bring, you don't believe that elections can bring a desired change. But you have gone ahead and presented yourself as a candidate for nomination. Your party presented your candidature as a candidate, and here you are nominated, and you are saying you don't believe in the elections for which you are participating in. I think, why do you participate in something you don't believe in? Already the rules were set, the guidelines were set, and which were even set in Parliament. The laws were amended in Parliament. When your party is the chief opposition party, that is supposed to check government, the alternative government, you participated, and the laws were passed, the laws were amended, and you are saying you don't believe in that. But yet taxpayers paid your party to make sure, in addition to what is paid to you as Najana Nkumbi, that has representatives in Parliament under the Political Parties Organization and the Political Parties and Organization Act. You still government using taxpayers' money funds the leader of opposition to make sure whatever is passed in Parliament is the best. And then you come to say You are participating in elections, but you don't believe the election will bring the desired goal. Let's be leaders. Let's go, let's talk because if you say that, that is a sign that you even don't believe in your own members in parliament who participated in the making of all of these amended the current laws. So I want to urge colleagues as politicians, if there are issues, and if you think, if the people are seeing you as opposition, if you come and discuss on table, you can put your efforts together as opposition and give us a strong run as a political party.
But
that
I
would
wonder
be
why,
good for
Honorable
us.
Justin, you want them to. I thought you should be singing Kumbaya because they are not united anyway. Because
No,
But what is he saying?
politics.
What
When
point she making?
Honorable Matthias Impuga says, NRM will say, come this way, come to the big table, come to the big. Honorable Matthias Impuga, for me, I would think we as politicians, let's build our parties, make them strong. It is your personal choice, but it's also still our responsibility. We, you and me, our generation, should build our parties where
Justin,
we
just
are,
know
so that
people are still wallowing in poverty.
The issue
the
of
poverty that really stinks.
The issue of
for 34 years. Why should they?
Patrick Kamala, in this country, one of the districts that has the best technical skill, that is technical institute, that is meant to skill the ordinary Ugandan to get a skill, because this is an era of skills, is found in Nakaseke district. The second industrial park in this country was set up in Ruwero, Kapeka. Part of one of the communities that are producing coffee for this country, in addition to, of course, the biggest is Masaka, or Greater Masaka, is Ruwero. Coffee. When you look at how people have improved their lives in Nakasongola, especially the people who are, should I say, those who are looking after cattle, they are in Nakasongola. So when you talk of
I have seen poverty in Masulita, in Kapeka, in Kichusa, in Bamugolode, in all those places, in Katugo, there, like real poverty. I don't know which other places you're going to, or perhaps when you are invited to some big shows and you think what you are seeing, Justin, is not the real picture in the entire Bulemezi.
See how
the
Semuto
people
has
of Bulemezi.
grown.
In fact, even
No,
after
look at how
2 years ago, they were still coming here to Kampala to ask to return their things that were taken from them to help the struggle.
Look at Masulita and see how many people have coffee plantations. People in Masulita, the majority of them are earning from coffee, which coffee is not even consumed by us here in Uganda, it's exported. And the NRM government, for which they really supported, brought this conducive environment that they are able to produce their coffee and export it. It's not exported by government, it's exported by them under the arrangement of the cooperative. In Masulita itself you are talking about. When you come and you are talking about the issue of the villages you are mentioning. These are all villages I know. But one thing I want to tell you is that you find one is doing well, but the neighbor is not doing well. This neighbor is the one who should be supported by government. And Ruwero itself, in addition to Operation Wealth Creation, they have they have the Ruwero Triangle. Under the component of the Ruwero Renzori program,
Justin,
that area still, they are given the issue of...
Let me go to the other guests, Patrick and Matthias. Are you
but
for
I'm
real?
still explaining.
Yes, yeah, because...
I'm explaining.
Yes, you can hold on to your point there.
This is our maker. And by the way, I want to tell you that after President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, by the way, people in the ghetto are very useful people. Very useful people.
Just forgot about them until the election came.
And it's our responsibility, me and you, to make sure they come out of poverty. And that's why the taxpayers' money is spent to you on opposition, as opposition, to make sure we work together to bring them out of poverty.
I will talk about that as well.
All right,
so
all right.
But the people, you are talking about the people in Masulita, people in
Patrick,
Nakasongola,
are you
people in
expanding the time for this
Nakaseke,
program?
these people,
All right, you can
or
hold on. But
some
gentlemen,
have divorced,
yes,
but
yes,
the
Justin, but I know. I can imagine
68.9%,
some people just nodding their heads in disagreement
the
with you.
68.9,
You're going to find those gentlemen in the field.
Kamara, please.
Yes.
The 68.9% of the Ugandans that are still under subsistence farming is the responsibility of, and they are all over the country. It's not that they are only in one place. They're all over.
Okay, we shall
Even
get
in
into
my
that.
village
You have
where
kept
I'm
them
born,
there in subsistence farming.
even where,
You know that
even
majority
where
of
the
Ugandans
president
are
comes
into agriculture.
from.
You put only 3% of your budget into agriculture, where the biggest percentage of our population is. Does it even make sense that
By the way,
majority of your people are not
for
catered
you
for?
to fight poverty, it's no longer only in agriculture. We have the ICT sector.
So you
we have the
expect all these
service
people there
industry,
to be in
we
ICT?
have the service industry. Even in Ruwero, there are hotels. Even in Ruwero, there are industries. In the Ruwero area, there are industries.
all
there are
right.
hotels. So it is no longer only
But you see, Patrick,
agriculture.
we are not,
Okay,
we are
hold
not,
on,
we are not
the
going to be-
economy
we are
has
not going to be beaten
expanded.
on the streets.
The economy has
And
expanded.
also
Okay,
come also
your time
to
is out
really
now.
see all the time.
Matthias and Patrick,
Yes.
you know the ground seems not to be leveled. You know,
Even you on TV.
are you in this for a long haul, and are you in this convinced really that you are in this to win it? Matthias.
You know, Patrick, first of all, let's not digress from the real issues. Of course, Justin has been mocking the people of Ruwero. She knows what they have done to them since the war ended. They have grabbed all their land. The people have been disempowered, impoverished, and they're now throwing crumbs at them. So they are mocking them, how they have taken industries there, stuff. After 35 years, she still needs 10 programs at NTV to explain, to convince the people of Ruwero that their life is better. That actually they now have coffee, as if coffee is the latest invention by the NRM to Ruwero people. So we cannot run away from the realities, and we should never cede this very precious time to still market deception to our people. They should be explaining why they have been sleeping on the job for 35 years. And when we start asking questions, they bring out mambas and tear gas to tear gas the people, not to even ask questions or not even to listen to alternative voices. So Patrick, whether we're going to win this or it's a wrong haul is the question of the reality confronting us. I don't want to delve into the simplicities of, you know, you can't talk, you can't unite. I still insist. People who want change will cause it, with or without leaders. And when they cause it, they will determine who will lead them. Patrick, you remember, in Tunisia, when the leaders let down their people, leaders caused change. Pretenders went and bought suits from boutiques and came out to lead them. They told, no, it's not you. Until finally, they agreed who will lead them. So I have no doubt as to the fact that people will eventually agree on who will lead them. The collective effort on my part and that of my elder brother, Patrick, is to make sure, one, that the mobilization of the people does not stop. Whether we are facing all these challenges from the regime, and talking about NRM, we are not competing with a political party. We are competing with a communist state party. An ordinary party does not work the way the NRM works. You hear the reason that they are a mass party. Mass parties are communist outfits, which is why she would tell you that, you see, we regret you people, you followed the law, you followed the right route, but you are tear gassed. But you see, could have been interfering with the economic activities of the citizens. You see, you cannot be explaining this and giving the other excuse. The long and short of this is that it's going to be a wrong haul. And doing the works of 35 years of destruction of all social, economic, cultural institution, political institution of the country, is going to take us a lot of time, a lot of patience.
Now,
And it calls for understanding, which is why we need the space to educate ourselves as a people, as a country, as to these afflictions, and agree on the best way to go about them. Little wonder, Mr. Museveni wants us to traverse the country for 60 days, and then he will say you will not go. He wants you to go, but you won't go anyway. It's all stupid, and we need to agree as a people whether we are going to be part of this nonsense or we're going to mobilize the country to think otherwise. You know, Patrick, the beauty is that the DNA of Ugandans, as far as politics is concerned, has not changed since independence. Ugandans have the patience, but they also have a cut-off point over which they say, no, we can't take this anymore. And the NRM people will regret having failed to smell the coffee and change their ways. And I have no doubt.
So now
I have been to every corner of this country. The discussion is no longer about people are convinced they are poor. You're not going to change the DNA of the NRM. They have stolen from the bush. They're not about to stop stealing. They have failed to plan since they arrived here. They're not going to plan tomorrow. They have failed to channel critical resources into key economic sectors. They're not going to start after this election. They believe in militarism. They're not going to stop tomorrow. We simply have to stop them and begin anew, which is why, for us, it's a new Uganda.
So now, that new Uganda, and when talking about mobilization, I want to bring an example of Arua, which I thought Arua should be like your red, impenetrable wall. But look what happened. In Arua, now the woman MP has gone unopposed. And I'm wondering, where was the NUP and its mobilization capacity in that area, which should have been impenetrable for the likes of Justine?
You know, Patrick, we should not speak here as though we do not know the machinations of this communist party. We know how they cajole, intimidate, and get people out of their races. Yesterday, in Moroto, they raided our offices and they jailed some of our political leaders there. Part of the reason for that is that they have been trying to convince them to abandon NUP, and they have refused. So they have resorted to intimidating them, arresting some of them, and that's how they work. We know what happened in Arua. We don't want to really put our energies on what happened in Arua because we know what happened in Arua. And I can tell you, even the people of Arua are aware of what happened to cause that unopposed person. In Zimbabwe, last week, they bought out our candidate. And I'm aware even of the price. I talked to the candidate. She was duly nominated. In Buyamba, in Rakai, they bought out our candidate. So this is not about me telling our people that should not be bought out. We can only do so much.
Okay.
But the beauty is that the people for whom we select these candidates are alive to the challenge.
All right.
And they rise with or without those bought cheap politicians.
Honorable Patrick, you know, you have not, with all respect, been able to grow your membership, maybe attracting in new members from NRM. We have seen members leave FDC to go and join other parties. In fact, including the woman member of parliament now, who is going to run for mayorship. The Honorable Nabila Sempala has now joined People Power. And by the way, she's likely to give serious competition to the Honorable Lukwago. Your party is not growing, but people are moving away. Under your leadership, they have gone.
Patrick, come to Najana Nkumbi and see our political balance sheet. You will be shocked. 18 months ago, I went to Busoga, where my sister Justine comes from, in a place called Nawaikoke. 861 people, including leaders, on a single day, crossed over to the FDC from the NRM. What you and some viewers out there need to avoid is to view the strength of the party on the basis of a single leader. Leaders lose their salt. They become unpopular. what would worry the FDC if a leader like Nagai Sempala decided to leave the FDC and join NOPE and went en masse, went with people en masse, we would begin, developing goose principles in fear.
So,
but if a leader,
do you really
let
think
me just let me qualify
you can
my
compete
statement
against NOPE in Kampala and you take it and you think it's going to be an easy
let
ride
me
for you as FDC?
Let me qualify.
You can
my
compete against NOPE in Kampala as FDC and you think it's going to be an easy
You
ride?
think we are not going to win any seats in Kampala? Wait for the election. Why are you presuming? You see, somebody leaves the FDC. We are not going to keep lying down, crying over that person. Honorable Nabila represented Kampala twice as an FDC member of parliament. She left the district woman seat and decided to go for the mayoral seat. Today we have Dr. Stella Nyanzi, quite vibrant, filling up the gap and moving along with our supporters in a bid to win the Kampala district woman seat. And I think she's going to win. She's a very good candidate. The opinion polls indicate that she is going to win Kampala for the FDC. So, you need to distinguish between leaders living with supporters and leaders living by themselves and supporters. In fact, what is the voting value of a member of parliament compared to that of somebody in the community, in the village? Each of them has one vote, you know that. So I don't think it is accurate to state that there is an exodus of people from the FDC. The FDC is a party that receives freely and lets go. So there is free entry into the FDC and free exit. We don't conscript anybody in our party. That is a very, very fundamental principle that we uphold. And so it's true, there are people who have gone out, there are those who have come in. Now I want to take this time to try to respond to some of the things that my sister Justine raised. She has spent quite a bit of time talking about money that is given to us by government, as if it is a favor. I want to remind the Secretary General of NRM that money does not belong to NRM. It belongs to the taxpayer of Uganda. And we actually received that money on the basis of a law that was passed in Parliament. I'm sure that if the NRM was not getting as much, actually they take about 80%. The FDC takes about 8%, and the other parties, share between themselves. If this money was almost evenly distributed, the nature of NRM would be to just amend the law, and they would do it by the stroke of a pen. And that money would no longer be coming to political parties. Because they enjoy more than 80% of that money, they think it's all well for everybody. And I think that is a wrong thing, the wrong way to view political parties. And I hope that one day the NRM will decide that this law should be changed to favor even the smaller political parties and even upcoming political parties. Now, in as far as development is concerned, and the poverty indices in our country, I think Justine's government has been a disaster. There are areas of this country that are the ghetto of this country on account of the level of poverty. Her native Busoga, the indicators are that it's one of the poorest regions of the country. Where the Secretary General comes from, where other top officials of government actually come from. When you even go further north, it worsens. In Karamoja, in Teso, in Bukedi, in the greater north as a whole. You can smell, see, feel, talk, hear poverty. All the 5 senses that people have. Now, for Honorable Justin Lumumba to begin to tell us the same old story that the NRM has told us in a bid to dupe or hoodwink the people of Uganda is really very sad. 35 years in power, and you can tell the people of Nakaseke, of Luero, of Nakasongola, those in the broader rural triangle, the kind of stories that are being told, and yet there is evidence on the ground to show that the NRM has not impacted substantially the lives of people who suffered to bring this regime into power.
The people listening to you, Engineer Patrick Amriat, with all respect, from Teso region, could be saying, look, he has failed to represent a constituency. Here he is, he wants to lead Uganda.
How do you measure failure?
We wanted to come to parliament and couldn't.
Sorry? Because I didn't make it to parliament?
That's absurd.
It's a very, very queer method of measurement of political success. The man you're talking about represented Kumi County for 15 years, 3 successive terms. And I have a record of my work. Very, very clear. People are very happy about it. My not returning to parliament was because of the circumstances that I found myself in. Hounded out of parliament, gerrymandering, as one constituency being split into small pieces just because there was a power somewhere. I am glad that that happened, because now I'm actually going for the top seat. If I had been in parliament, probably I would not have thought about, running for the presidency of this country. So I'm sure that wherever Mr. Museveni is, he must be regretting why he sent generals, why he pumped money in the constituency, made promises, campaigned against me, beat up my people, because here I am, now going for his own position. And I am coming, Mr. Museveni. I can tell him this without any fear of contradiction. But, let me just finish at a point of saying 35 years is very long a time for any political group running a country to continue using excuses as a means to continue duping the people of that country. When I look at a country like, and I've always given this example, I'm happy to give it, a country like Finland, which about 35 years ago, when NRM came into power, before that were a timber and paper economy. That is how they survived. It was one of the poorest countries. The period of time of transformation, 35 years, have brought Finland to a level of an economic powerhouse, because they were strategic. They educated their population, empowered them with knowledge. And today, Finland is a high-tech economy. By the way, it's where the Nokia Development Center is found. These technologies, electronic technologies, developed from there. And we in the third world buy those technologies and utilize them and, in effect, enrich Finland. Now, these guys are just asleep. They think that they can continue trading on lies and false hope.
All right. Gentlemen.
Tens of programs have been brought forward. I think one time they said Kulembeka, Bonabagagawale, and then, now there's a new one. What is it called?
Emioga.
Emioga. That is now a journey to nowhere. You see, that Emioga, it is the same slogans that they have sung.
Okay, gentlemen,
chorusing all the
gentlemen
time,
and ladies,
chorusing poverty,
hold on to your
against the people of
points,
Uganda.
because we are going to take a break. When we come back, I'll open the line so that you too can be a part of this discussion. You're going to see the numbers on the screen. You can call us and tell us your name, where you're from, and also go straight with your question or a comment that you may be having. Should you disagree with the panelists tonight, please disagree with respect. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guests tonight are Honorable Justin Kasule Lumumba, Honorable Patrick Oboy Amuriat, presidential candidate in this election, and Honorable Matthias Mpuga, who is the Group Vice President for Central Region. Now giving the opportunity so that you can be a part of this discussion, and please, the numbers on the screen. You can pick your phone and call us and make it very precise and concise so that we can be able to get many people to participate in this discussion. And so I'm taking the very first caller online. Hello. Hello. I have a call online. Hello. Okay. One other thing I'm going to give as a guidance. When you call, please, you turn down the volume of your TV so that it doesn't send an echo to you or to me. Then we shall have a healthy conversation. But if you turn up, hello?
Yes, very good evening, Kamara.
Good evening, sir. What's your name?
My name is Peter.
Peter, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Mutinda.
I'm sorry?
I'm calling from Mutinda.
From Muntinda. You're on air, sir. Go right ahead.
Yes. So my question is posed to the author, Lumumba.
Okay.
It is, doesn't the current regime think that for the last 35 years we have always sung the same song. There is always a saying that goes, even the best dancer must leave
The stage.
living room. So I'm asking, doesn't the leadership, the current regime, feel really that this is just enough? Secondly, I'm asking now this question to the opposition, mainly Abuya and NUP candidates.
Okay. Looks like, well, the only question, you didn't ask the second question though, but you seem to say that the NRM has been singing the same song for quite some time, that even the best singer should leave the arena. We have another call online. Hello. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling Maz Prophet, calling from Tinda.
Okay, Manzi, you're on air.
Yeah, I would like to ask that Madam in yellow dress.
The Honorable Justin Kasule Lumumba.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm 35 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since we have been with one president, and our president is the one who took guns and fight for those governments before us,
Mm-hmm.
young generation.
Mm-hmm.
But from then up to now, for sure, if he's a good man, why then don't he all leave to other NRM leaders, not himself? Because for me, I can see him as not a good leader for 35 years up to now, and he's fighting with young people. What is that?
Okay, thank you very much. I can feel something in your voice, some kind of a sense of frustration. 35 years old, a real child of the revolution. She will respond. Let me try to take another caller. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, good evening. You're talking to Marcus.
Marcus, where are you calling from?
I'm actually calling from Makerere Rwanda again.
Okay, go right ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, for me, my query goes to Madame Kasule.
Okay.
Yeah, the lady in the yellow shoes.
You even saw the shoes? I hadn't seen them. All right.
Yeah, actually, I'm actually 28.
Yes.
Yeah, since I was born, I've actually witnessed one president.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering about the power rotation.
Okay.
If actually there are capable people in the same party, why don't they give power to those other capable people who are also there?
Okay, thank you very much, Marcus in Makerere. Just like the caller in Tinda, you seem to say what's up. An entire generation, I think, is seeking for probably another leadership. You want to maybe see some transition. I'm going to check maybe two more callers. Hello. Hello.
Kamala mwebale kuweereza.
Okay, sir. Go right ahead, sir. Okay.
Njagala kubuuza ekibuuzo kyange oyo omukyala ali Kwejeero Lumumba.
Okay.
Nze nzijukira nali muto President Museveni najja ku kyalo kyaffe n'atusuubiza ebintu bingi. Actually, I'm 33 now.
Okay.
Ever since President Museveni we yajjira ku kyalo mpaka nakati taddanga kutuukiriza ebyo bye yasuubiza. Era nze mukadde wange yali awagira nga bw'oyogera ku Pulezidenti Museveni asobola n'okukuba oluyi naye obudde buno tayagala na kumutunulako lwakulimba. Kati NRM gavumenti temukyalina kimutugamba. You just pave way for us, abaana abalala bakwatemu. Webale nnyo.
Okay, thank you very much. The good thing I can hear Luganda as if I'm hearing my own Rutoro. Unfortunately, I cannot talk back. Let me take another call. Looks like there's a generational issue here now, Justin. And if I get another question and it's going to Justin, I'll close the one. Not that because now, please, can't you ask Amriat as well?
It's
Or you
okay.
just agree with him? Let me take another call online. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. This is Brian from Chotera.
Brian in Chotera, you're on air and you're loud and clear.
Yes. I'm 33 years.
Okay.
But do you think NRM does not have a capable leader to lead this country apart from Museveni?
Justin
That
here
is
is
one
capable, I
question.
suppose.
That is one question.
Okay.
We have case studies from Kenya. We have case studies from Tanzania. These are the same, almost the same parties leading, but different presidents. And they have shown revolving and changing leadership. Can they can they take on that mantle with NRM? Secondly, we've seen case studies of Algeria, Zimbabwe, leaders who have stayed long with power. They leave countries worse than the country is now. I was just saying we need change of power to move our country forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our caller from Chotera. I'm taking the very last call online. Hello.
Thank you.
We have a call online. Hello. Okay, that one is trying to listen to himself as he tries also to make a call. Let me take another caller. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
Yes, good evening.
Mr. Kamara.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is from Nabayu.
From Namayumba.
I want to inform my good friend, Madame Kasule, to inform her that before NRM came to power, we had coffee processing plants in that area.
You had what?
One was at Gobero, it was a wet coffee processing plant.
A coffee processing plant at Gobero in Namayumba.
At Nabayumba.
Okay.
Another one was at Kasule.
Okay.
That is towards the Katikamu Secondary School.
And I guess all that is Bulemezi region, right?
That is the Nabayumba.
Yes. Namayumba is in Bulemezi area.
Koima Road.
Okay. Yes.
Another one was at Rukoma. That was a dry coffee processing plant. Another one was at Ezabemode or Lugungude. Another one was at Tano and Mushonju. Just before Museveni came to power. But incidentally, when you walk along that path now, there is actually none.
Okay.
And you are proud that there is coffee production in that area. That area is the greater Chisuna area. Actually, it is near simple poverty flourishing around that area. I'm one of the products of primary education at Siziba Primary School. During our time in the 70s, we used to go to senior secondary school, and if you excelled very well in primary, you would go to the CPC and get free education. If you excelled very well after O level, you
you go to HSC, free education, the whole of Uganda. And I'm a product of that, and I'm proud of it. What actually happened to all that money that we are collecting in taxes, minerals, and the rest. Such that even a poor person in Rugungude, poor person in Chizibe, poor person at Vitisi and the Gomel cannot take a child at Budo. We are products of Labiango College, and our fathers were peasants. Where are the children of the peasants in Budo and in the Miriam? Stay very well. Thank you, Mr. Kamara.
Thank you so much. Our caller from Namayumba. I think Namayumba is on Hoima Road. And you talked of cases of coffee processing plants in Gobero and places like those, and you don't see them anymore. I know the NRM government had a plan this year to produce 20 million bags of coffee, but they have fallen short by almost 15 million bags. That's a fact, by the way. So, many questions and comments were coming to Justine, but I also understand because you are the party in power. So there are issues of accountability. And for that matter, I will ask you to respond to them, and then as you give your concluding remarks, and then I go to the gentleman.
One, I want to thank the people who have made phone calls, and I also want to, in a special way, to thank NTV for giving me this opportunity to come and give accountability for what we have done as NRM, or what has been done under the NRM regime in power in the different parts of the country. One, most of the callers were more asking about why President Museveni to remain the leader of NRM, why the party fronting the candidature of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for presidency. So I want to combine the issues raised by Peter, Manzi, I think in Kambwe, Edilisa, the issue of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. One, in NRM, we have one of the principles is democracy. And for democracy, you choose your own leaders every after 5 years. And in this case, the process in NRM, the process begins within our party in NRM. The Electoral Commission of NRM puts out the information, a notice. Those who are interested to take up leadership at the various levels, please offer your candidature. And they do. So President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni offered his candidature. But I remember very well that before even offered his candidature, there are different people, different groups from the parliamentary caucus, leaders from the different zones, were encouraging him and telling him to offer himself again. And he did. But all of that they were basing on what they've seen Uganda, what they've been able to see Uganda achieving under his leadership. And that is why I think they were urging him to contest. So it is only under the leadership of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni that Uganda has been safe. Even when we were still under the colonial time, under when we still had our kingdoms before we became one country, the different tribes were fighting different tribes. Different tribes would go and raid the neighboring tribes. And it's only under the leadership of President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni that the people in Teso at least have breathing space away from their uncles, the Karamajongs. The Karamajongs at least have some breathing space away from the problems that were being caused by their brothers, the Pokots. It is the people in the Karamajongs used to raid Teso, Buked, up to Busoga. And it is only under the regime of President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni that the people of Buked, the people in Butebu, the people in Busoga no longer face the wrath of the people of Karamoja, though we still have some few cases, especially in Katakwi, where the Karamajongs come. But also even when you go to Karamoja, even they themselves have peace, with the exception where you find maybe the other direct, the GIA have attacked the Bokora have attacked the Matheniko, but there is relative peace. And it has only happened under the leadership of President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. It is under the leadership of President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, that you find somebody can study from primary up to university on government sponsorship. And even when he qualifies, though they are few, they get employed by government. Before, you had to pay, even the one who talked of somebody who called from Namayuba, this is Mr. Chivirige. During that time, they were paying school fees. But when they were paying school fees, what was the number of the people who were in primary schools? What was the number of the people who were in secondary schools? So, as we talk now, we have the children in primary and we have children in secondary. The challenge we have now is that the number in secondary schools is still small. So we have to address the issue of the dropouts and addressing it through the various ways, through the various means. So why President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, why not another one? It's because of his performance. That is, it's not about anything else, but because of what Uganda has been able to achieve under his leadership. Various sectors, various achievements in various sectors in the country. And I want to urge you, Mr. Peter in Ntinda, Manzi and Mokas and in Kambwe, it's not about changing the leader. It is about what the leader can offer, the qualities. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is tested, has offered leadership, security, that even the people who are competing with him come here and they talk and they get home, provided you have not used sectarian language, provided you are not talking, undermining anybody's way of life, provided you are not calling on people to go and intimidate or cause violence to the others. That tolerance and acceptability, which they don't want to acknowledge, is also part of the reasons that the NRM people support him. And NRM offers his candidature to you as Ugandans, and you vote him, and you give him the highest number of votes, for which I'm grateful as Secretary General of NRM, and I want to thank you. The issue of and they are clever people, it's not about being clever or not, it's about leadership. It's about offering leadership, but also making sure you serve Ugandans and they have confidence in you. Mr. Chivirige, who says a good friend to Kasule Lumumba, I want to thank you, Mr. Chivirige, a good friend maybe because also the name of Chivirige and Kasule, because in Uganda here I will explain that another day. As we talk, you are telling us there were coffee processing plants in the different areas. Even as we talk now, in Ruwero there are quite a number of either people as individuals, like we have Mr. Sulaiman in Chiwoko, in Butalangu, who is processing coffee in his home. But there are those who are in cooperatives who are also processing. So when you say you don't see, the community which was producing coffee then could have now changed to producing bananas, because even in Iruwel we have so many people who are producing bananas and people who are producing pineapples. We have people who are producing coffee in Chinyogoga. We have people in Rukandwa. So it is people could have changed based on what brings money more or faster to them than what they used to do before. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Peter Manzi, Marcus Nkambwe, and Brian, and Chivirige, and others. Please vote His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni so that the peace continues, giving us this environment where me and Amriat and Matthias can continue working, serving the country, but at the same time leading together to make sure we work together to make sure everybody has income in their home. All right.
I don't know what you make. Matthias, you're going first, and then Patrick will conclude. After all, he's even a presidential candidate here, so he will even make a pitch to the people of Uganda on his behalf. Yes. You're parting short, and what do you make? The young people seem to be saying, look, I'm 27, I'm 28.
Yes,
what do you read from that?
I'm glad that they were not necessarily throwing the sink at my sister, but they have every reason to question not only the morality of their leadership, but even the direction and their intentions over time. They're questioning the state of inertia in the country. The country, they're comparing politics, they're comparing the economy. And you remember, Patrick, these young people follow global politics, they follow issues, and they're able to compare. When they compare General Museveni, who came to power in '86, and how many times our neighbors have changed leadership, and how their economy have also evolved so, there's a huge difference. There's a reason why we are stuck with both the economy and the regime. The first 10 years, the NRM was a government. It is now a regime. And when people start calling you a regime, just know you are past yourself by debt. Because now they see you're a burden. The regime connotation connotes a burden. You're a burden to the people. And they say, could this burden be the individual or the institution? And they say there's a feeling that the burden could be actually an individual. That's why they're asking Justin that, don't we have another person that we can actually ease the burden? Perhaps this gentleman, the transactional cost of keeping this individual in this government as president is eating away jobs, is eating away education, is eating away the economy, is eating away opportunities. Then it tells you securing your future. The young people are questioning the present. They are questioning the economy of sloganeering because they need jobs. They need to be certain as what tomorrow will bring. They want scholarships not offered in a state house. They can compete for. They are asking these questions, and like they were questioned, my sister has no answers. She continued to sloganeer about, you see, President Museveni brought security. The people of Uganda offered their blood for this security. It's not an act of magnanimity. Those who fail to bring this security are not in the government. So they should not be used to try and tell us, therefore, we should really not ask questions because security will go away. No. I think that is really not proper. People offered their blood, their lives, and to have this security, whichever, whether peace in pieces, whichever way we look at it. So I want to invite younger people to continue asking these questions unapologetically. You deserve better. You must demand for more. You've offered these people a chance for 35 years. They are still sloganeering about their job. They are sleeping on duty. If you have no job, make sure Justin has no job first. If you have no job, make sure Mr. Museveni loses his job. Then you can get your job.
All right.
Justin and her team have your job. Please throw them out of office. They're sleeping on duty. I thank you, Patrick, for giving us a chance to speak to the people
Engineer
of Uganda.
Patrick, you're parting short, and also you could make a pitch for the people of Uganda. You're a presidential candidate.
Well, I am really impressed by the young people and their desire for change. First, to notice that despite the fact that we have got a lot of trouble in this country educating the population, there are people out there, young people, who understand how their country is being mismanaged. That is really something, a point that we think that is going to help us advance the cause of our struggle to its logical conclusion. Now, I want to talk about internal democracy within the NRM, and to say I observe that it's okay to compete for the other positions, but there's just one single position that is totally ring-fenced, and that is the position that Mr. Museveni holds. This has even been extended to all of us beyond, the confines of the NRM in the changes that have taken place in our constitution, the removal of term limits. Justin and I were in the House. She voted to remove. I voted no to remove. And then later, the violent removal of age limit, all really meant to remove all the safeguards that would cause excesses by the authority of the president and the person who holds that office. And indeed, to favor just one single person. Now, it's common knowledge that even the best dancer, really, time comes for them to leave the stage. And I think that Mr. Museveni has not taken advantage of leaving the stage while the living is still good. The legacy is going to leave behind is a legacy of a rotten dictatorship. And this is not good for a person who has quite fairly contributed something to the progress of this country. So I think my advice to the NRM is for them to begin to exercise internal democracy at all levels. If you doubt this, there is a captain who was trying to play around, with Museveni's position. And, he was even arrested and, taken to jail. Okoto Gong had to suffer a lot, by just the very mention that he was interested in the top seat. He was almost hounded out of the party. And, the list is long.
Okay.
Now, in terms of development, and I think it was Mr. Chigundu who brought out a very, very important point in this discussion, saying, look, this coffee factory, the other one, and it's thorough. I wish to thank him for being knowledgeable enough. This is the misery that the NRM has put Ugandan people into, killed cooperatives totally. And it goes for the cooperative unions across the country. I think really the only surviving one is Bugisu Cooperative Union, where farmers sell jointly, they market their product jointly. And so really, we as the FDC, as a presidential candidate, I am coming out to the people to market our manifesto. We will be launching our campaign on Monday, the 9th of this month in Soroti. And so the people in Soroti should really prepare to receive their son and his team. We have no apologies to the NRM because we think that they have let down this country and the country is ripe for change and the change that they deserve. Let the 90% of Ugandans who have continued to suffer under the yoke of this dictatorship rise up to the occasion. Deal with the 9%, like the Justin Lumumbas, who are aiding the 1% who have contributed to the suffering of the people of Uganda in different ways.
Thank you so much. By the way, when are you launching the manifesto? As you know?
We're launching on Saturday in Mbarara.
On Saturday in Ibarra?
Yes, sir.
And on Monday in
No,
in
we are not
Soroti?
launching our manifesto. We
For
are
us,
launching our campaign.
You're launching the campaign.
We are launching our campaign in Soroti on the
Monday.
9th. And, well, I am already seeing a bit of trouble with all this.
Our
Because,
launch will be in Arua of the campaign.
The new
Your manifesto in Barara?
Yes.
In Arua.
I saw the RDC, the RDC of Mbarara warning no. We hope that
no one has time for a DC. We don't want
hope,
even.
We hope that the Electoral Commission intervenes in this, and they shouldn't just sit back and watch while RDCs and fanatical, bootlickers of the NRM continue to harass.
Okay, thank you very much.
We are launching our campaigns on Monday in Iruwero, in Kaumu.
Okay.
On Monday, the 9th, in Kaumu. But what I want to thank you members is that these colleagues of mine keep telling you how bad NRM is, looking at the internal democracy within NRM while their parties are cracking. So, Ugandans vote NRM, vote His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. We've offered you the best we could offer as NRM at this time.
This is the best.
You're offering too little.
Okay, thank you
You
very much. I want to thank you, gentlemen and lady, for your time. I want to thank you, all of you, for your great company. I know we have a great country and we have great people. These individuals will be coming to you to ask for the mandate to lead. These days, around times like these, the leaders are so malleable. They can actually do anything you tell them to do. So please read their manifestos, understand them, and vote wisely, because you know that you deserve better as a country. We just belong to one family called Uganda. We need to keep that Uganda intact. no matter what happens, we must save our country because we don't have any other. Good night and God bless Uganda.